It's time for Mike Geary Show. He's ripping off Cullinane. He wants to find some fans to talk to, 'cause he's lonely on Saturdays. Mike was told to come up with something, and I guess this is what he did. We should give him some points for trying. Kirk wants to know what the point of this is. Just a warning for all you guys. You'll never get this hour back in your life. This is Mike is talking with you. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you. This is Mike and the Minifans. This is Mike and the Minifans. With you.
You know, your guy tries to prepare an intro, but you always forget that with Justin at the board, never prepare for anything because it's going to be disastrous. He tells me before the show starts, people don't like when I have to tell you we're live, so just know when the song ends that we're live. The problem is the song rarely, if ever, plays all the way through. So that might be, try and fix that glitch if you can. Now, bottoms up, gang, because we're drinking tonight. Ah, Jesus. I'm back. I'm still here. I stayed alive. Now, will I be humiliated again for the 1,000th time? Perhaps. We'll get to all of that. Was I pathetic? I don't know that. I don't know that I would disagree. I don't know that I would agree with that this time. But we'll get to all of it. Feel free. I've got some people that may disagree with me this time. Who knows? Big Mike and the Minifans prepared, I think. But first, I want to tell you about my friends at Broken T Virtual Golf. My buddy Mark Kitchen, a great Minifan, as well as a PGA professional. And if you want some lessons from a PGA pro or want gift certificates, I know it's after Christmas, but you still got birthdays and all that sort of stuff coming up. Mention Mike and the Minifans, or just in general. If you go down there to swing on their full swing virtual screens, play on 40 world famous courses, drink their great craft beer selection, which is obviously more what I'm into. And if you want to just fuck around, if you're kind of new to golf, you're not very good, you're just learning, or if you're a pro that wants some lessons from another pro, in Mark Kitchen, head on down to Lakeville, Massachusetts, 166 County Road in Lakeville, Mass, down the South Shore, and tell them that Mike and the Minifans sent you to Broken T Virtual Golf, the Broken T, that's TEE.com. And again, tell them Mike and the Minifans sent you. These guys are, they're Minifans, and they're supporting Mike and the Minifans and our YouTube show and all of that. So make sure you support these guys, huh? What do you say? Now, for the real business here. Bring in the boys. Bring in the cast of characters. First of all, let me say this. What the fuck is going on with the Minifans? It is work. I did not think it would be work to get you people on. I've got cancellations. I've got flat out no's. I've got, the thing that annoys me more than anything is I've got people telling me, hey, Mike, you suck. Why don't you have no one on that disagrees with you? You need more confrontation. And I say, all right, how about you come on? And they're like, oh, no, not me. Not me. I just meant someone else should do it. So I can't believe the lack of Minifans willing to do this show. So if you want to get on, message me, try to do it earlier in the week so I can set the lineup. But
name some names.
Welcome.
Who told you need people who disagree with you and then
it's not out? People I know. I just respond to
just random accounts.
People that DM me. Yeah, I don't know everyone. I don't know names.
I just get into the club, so that's all I want.
Yeah, exactly. Matt from Providence, essentially my co-host Jim Browdy tried to tell you today you don't have a show. You got a home right here, my friend.
Jim Browdy muted me. He wouldn't let me talk. You know, I wanted to have a conversation, but he wasn't having it.
Well, that's good. I mean, we'll get to that towards the end of the first hour, I think. We got Andy Mayo back as well. It appears DEC is afraid of you. Is that what we're?
I wouldn't say that. No. I wouldn't say that. DEC said he had a family emergency. The guy who's infamous for being a terrible father suddenly has to take care of his kids. I don't know.
A little suspicious. He might be on the second half. We'll see. if we can get him on here. And then my third man in today is PK down in Puerto Rico, I guess.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing down? I don't care what you're doing down there. Never mind. You're on a class trip or something. You're in school. You're in college.
I'm on the swim team at college, and we go to Puerto Rico to train for a week. So
probably a terrible idea if you're in college to come on this show, considering one of the guys you're on with has shown illegal porn on this very program. We had another guy wearing a mask using racial slurs. So I don't know if this is the safest place to come if you're in college. But
I'm unafraid of that. Well, I'm not afraid.
Very good. I like to hear that. So, boys, who among you heard my Barstool Radio appearance from mere hours ago?
I did, Mike.
Bad day.
I in fact did.
Bad day for me.
Bad day for the Kirk Minahan show in general.
Why you say that?
I think it just it showed that Dave doesn't really give a fuck about you guys. He's willing to let you go. He said it. Yeah. He said it straight out that, if Kirk tried to defend the wall, he was pulling the plug. So no loyalty from the bosses. It's just, it's disheartening.
There was a weird thing. I'll let Kirk. I think Kirk's ready to address this on Monday. So me and Kirk are on hold, and they put us on, but they were still in break, and we hear Dave and Tommy saying. Like Dave says, yeah, I think I'm just going to cancel the show. And Tommy says he's probably going to say he was joking. And Dave says he can't do that. He already used that excuse. And then they go live. Now, I don't consider this sinister. They weren't talking shit or anything because they said the same thing on air after we were off, I guess. So it is a little bit of talking shit. But it was nothing they didn't say on air eventually. It was just weird that that's the level they're thinking of going to over this issue. I don't really understand it. So here's what I'll say. As a great man once said, I understand Dave's point about me. I don't understand his greater point about the Trenny blog. If he doesn't want me writing, that's fine. However, it seems weird if he totally agreed with me about the blog. Why not just put it up?
See, I'm opposite.
Your thoughts. Go ahead.
I think he showed right there, if you write something good, he'll say it's good and he'll publish it. He just doesn't want you getting in the middle of a controversial topic because he's not willing to go to war for you. And right. I think that's just something that you're going to have to earn over time if you get the chance. I mean, you might have to stop pushing his buttons because he's close already. So
yeah, I think my takeaway is that more, especially with this one, more than me, I think Dave's issue is with Kirk. I think Kirk and Dave have just a philosophical difference on these type of matters. And for whatever reason, it's always masked in, Steve versus K Marco or me versus Dave. When I actually said this to Kirk after we hung up with Barstool Radio. But what I would love to hear is just not even a screaming match, a sit down with Kirk and Portnoy, Rogan or even Enough About Me style, where it's just a conversation. You don't have to, maybe it erupts to yelling and screaming, but just where Minahan asks him, why do you give a shit if groups that already hate you hate you? Like, they're going to write that they hate you no matter what. They're going to find a reason. Why do you care if we give them a half-assed reason? Andy Mayo, your thoughts.
Do you think Portnoy would have printed the blog if Kirk had submitted it? Because I was confused today because I'm not sure whether it's he doesn't want the heat that he thinks that blog would generate, or he kind of said today he doesn't want that heat if Blind Mike is the one leading the charge. Yeah. So which is it? Is it that, does that mean if Kirk, you guys could resubmit it under Kirk's name, and if Kirk says, I'll be the point person on this and all the shit that we get will come my way and it won't be Blind Mike out front for this one?
That's what I didn't understand.
He said it. He said if Clancy wrote the blog, it would be up there.
Right. So Justin actually made an interesting point before the show, believe it or not.
Justin, good job.
And he said that, tell me if you guys agree with this. It might be, first of all, this was odd, that Portnoy said, you've never written before, you stink at writing, this was written pretty well. Seemed a little strange. But, so, Justin said before the show, don't you think that maybe having a blind guy write it might actually be better? Because if people are going to come, if Kevin writes it, then there's obvious they go to the stuff with his marriage. If Portnoy writes it, it's obvious they go to the stuff he's written in the past. In general, if they go just pick a Barstool name, then they go after Barstool is sexist. If they come after a blind guy for writing it, does that add an element of maybe we shouldn't pick on this guy?
They'll just go after Dirty Mike and the boys.
You think so? You think they'll dig that up?
No way. But
Or the many
you think
instances
there's anything to that? Maybe me writing it might actually help. Or
so
am I
kind of like a
just grasping at
sympathy.
straws?
You want to play the sympathy card on it though, like they're not going to attack the handicapped.
It's not me.
kid.
It's not me playing the sympathy card. Is the social justice warriors that would attack Barstool for going after Trenny? Would they go after a blind guy for writing that article? A guy named Blind Mike.
Backhanded liberal discrimination. It's like
They wouldn't know what to. They'd be wrapped into a pretzel. They wouldn't know what to do.
they're so nervous about offending you that they just wouldn't even put up a fight.
Right.
I mean, hey, it's like reverse psychology. It could work.
Yeah, but I don't know. What do you guys? Did you guys get the vibe after hearing? I mean, much more so than me. Kirk and Dave kind of go at it. Did you get the feeling that if Kirk wrote it, Dave would have allowed it? I kind of think so. I think Dave looks at me. This guy's a nobody. I don't want his stuff up there. And the evidence I have to that is that multiple times before I wrote this, Steve has said, "Can we get Blind Mike a blogging account?" And there's been silence. So I just don't think they want me writing. But did you guys get the vibe they wouldn't post it no matter who did it?
I think Steve's would get spiked. I think Kirk's would get published.
I think you should resubmit it. Have Kirk resubmit it under his byline.
Too late for that.
Well, it's
No,
too late
do
for
it.
that,
Push
for
them
sure.
on it.
Yeah.
I think in the future you should be Kirk's like ghostwriter and just be writing it, and then as
I gotta be honest. While this blog was written pretty well, I don't know if that Kirk wants his name attached to my writing. To be fair, I understand the idea, but
yes.
We've got enough ghostwriters on the staff as it is. But I don't know. I felt very weird. Did you guys think, because this always seems to be the issue, did you guys think that Portnoy's bigger issue was with me or Kirk? PK, I'll start with you.
All right. Well, I just think that they obviously have very clashing personalities, but I also think that Portnoy considers himself like some radio like aficionado or whatever, and I feel like Kirk is much more of has a broader outlook and sort of knows more about it, and that was a weird dynamic in that whole conversation between the two.
It kind of seems to be how it always goes with those two. That it starts with me being the problem or Steve or whatever, but it goes to these two big personalities that both of them are smart guys. Intellectually, Kirk is a lot smarter,
Yes.
but both of them are big, confident personalities, and neither of them want to be wrong. And especially, they don't want to look wrong on air, obviously.
And one of them has a louder microphone.
I think Kirk that's the thing. I think Kirk is a better arguer. I think on Barstool Radio, it's tough on the phone, and Portnoy can just yell and scream at you. Now, for anyone that thinks I looked like a pussy, which I'm sure there are many, I would say it's a tough position on the phone, but do you guys think I came off as a pussy in that, or was I kind of in a position that's what I had to do? Matt, what do you think?
I think, towards the tail end of the conversation, you kind of did what you had to do, but
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand when you came out with you were told that the article was sexist. I never thought I heard Kirk or Steve say that. They've said the article that they didn't want to get in a sexism argument. Because, you were pretty clear
it's kind of,
about it.
and Kirk alluded to that. We're kind of playing a semantics game. Essentially, maybe we're wrong. Essentially, what we took, and I didn't speak. Kirk spoke to Dave about it. I think Steve spoke to maybe K. Marco. I'm not sure. I didn't talk to anyone about it except for those two. But it seemed to be the message we all took from it was that they don't want the backlash of looking sexist. So take that for what you want. Take that for meaning my writing was sexist or the topic was sexist, whatever it was. That's kind of we're kind of playing a semantics game when we say he wasn't saying I was sexist, he's saying the blog was sexist or whatever. It's weird that they give a shit what the Laura Wagners of the world or the Trenny Kuzneriks of the world. It's weird what they think, especially when Portnoy is willing to say on air, I agreed with every word you wrote. We're just not going to print it.
They would have printed it if KFC wrote it.
And I
Right.
think, you know,
It's a weird standard they're applying to you guys. And
Well,
it's
I
hard,
get-
it's
so I
hard
get-
to
you know what? I
figure
get
out the
that.
rhyme or reason.
And when-
I understand why KFC can post shit that I can't post. I've never written anything.
But you're
So-
posting for the Kirk Minahan show.
Right.
And
that's
they
the other
don't
thing,
seem
too,
to
is it
want to go to
wasn't-
bat for you guys ever.
And when Kirk is the middleman of criticism, you know that he's playing with the puppet strings, and some of those semantics were probably, you know, that way for a reason. I think he knew what he was doing in all this.
Well, maybe, yeah. But let me say this: I wasn't. No one. I don't think anyone lied to me. I think I fully grasped what the situation was. You know, I think Portnoy was essentially he throws this out there. I never said sexist. No, I don't know that he did. I wasn't on the phone with him. I don't know if he said that word or not. But I think the overall message was, we don't want to come off looking like we're attacking a woman. Now, put whatever word you want to that, but it just seems strange that they would give a shit about that. Now, here's what I understand and why I eventually agreed to the punishment that I'll get to in a moment. But I don't think there are a lot of places on planet Earth that you can call your boss a pussy with no balls, dare him to fire you, and then keep your job. So, I mean, if I have to do some silly fucking video for that, it's okay. It also sounded like I might not have to do it. But what did you guys think of the punishment that was laid down? Apparently, I may have to go to New York and kiss Dave's feet.
You
Should I
can
have agreed to this?
cannot-
I mean, that's
you
what
cannot
everyone's
do that.
wondering.
Should I have
That's the
agreed?
judgment of if you're a pussy.
Am
Will
I?
you
Am
do
I?
it,
Yeah.
or
Am
will
I a
you not
pussy?
do it?
I mean, you would have been a career killer to say no because he was going to fire you.
Absolutely gonna fire me.
In
If
that
I said
moment.
no,
Yeah,
But
and I
with
mean,
But are
Kirk
you actually
blocked?
going to do it?
see, but
That's
do
what
you
everyone
think
wants to know.
if you stood your ground and got fired there, are you looked at as some sort of like hero to the anti-Barstool crowd, or do you just, you know?
yeah, I think that, I mean, that's great for a day to be a hero, but
Yeah.
if they fire me and the Kirk Minahan show stays on Barstool and keeps chugging along, if Kirk and Steve told me before, like, hey, if they fire you, we're walking, then maybe I would have been a little more ballsy.
They didn't tell you that?
No, I don't. Maybe they thought that internally, but no, they didn't tell me that. But
That would put Kirk in a
do you think
weird
Kirk
spot,
would've?
I feel like.
I think Kirk would have.
He fucking better.
I'm glad it didn't
He-
come to that because
He's loyal to you. He's loyal.
Yeah, I think Kirk would have. I mean, Kirk's been incredibly good to me. So I have no real doubt that he would have, but first of all, I don't think this is something worth anyone getting fired over. It's same with the Albright thing. Is what are we really doing here? Why are we threatening to fire anyone over these things? Things that didn't get posted. Essentially, me and Steve, mine was a little worse. Like you can understand a little more why I was on the brink of getting fired. I fucking dared him to. But if you break it down, more or less, me and Steve have each been on the firing line for writing a blog that didn't get posted. That's what these big scandals have all been about, is things people never read. And Kirk wisely makes a big deal about that. I think what Dave and K. Marco have to understand is, like everything at Barstool, when you make a big deal out of its content. Hey, first of all, things might get done. They may start listening to us if we make it an issue on air. But more so, it's content. Like we've gotten, 2 days out of this now, or whatever it's been.
Although you only landed on Portnoy's radar for potential firing because you said, fuck you, you pussy, fire me.
No. I
And
landed
because
on
the show
Portnoy's,
and
I landed
fans
on
all put you
Portnoy's
on blast.
radar, as Portnoy mentioned after we were off air. I landed on Portnoy's radar because that fucking asshole, Steve Robinson, endlessly, hey, Dave, you might want to take a look at this. Dave, looky here. I've got a little something for you. You might want to listen to this. Portnoy said, I think he thought it was me tweeting from the show account. He goes, I don't know what kind of a fucking idiot at that level would tweet at me over and over again to get me to notice. I was like, I didn't want you to notice. I said it and kind of hoped it would go away. But, I mean, I did say it, so I should have to stand by it. That's kind of everything I'm about. I should have to pay the price. But I don't know. Do you guys? Let me ask you, Andy. Do you think I should have said, fuck you, I'm out?
Quit over it?
Yeah.
No.
Or said,
No.
not quit, but said, then you have to fire me because I'm not
I'd
kissing
rather-
your fucking feet.
I'd rather you. Oh, over the feet thing. Yeah, I'd rather
Yeah.
you quit than go kiss his fucking feet.
Would you?
Unless you Luca do the. You know what they did to Luca Brasi? I know you like Luca Brasi. The
I do.
fucking knife to the hand. You get close enough to his feet to kiss him, stab his foot, pin him to the floor, pummel him,
Oh.
kill him. I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
throwing. I'm
kill him.
just spitballing. We're just
I'm not gonna go that
workshopping
far,
the
Andy.
concept here.
I don't
But,
go that far. Remember,
not
you
gonna make
cannot.
you do it.
tightening
You
up the
cannot kiss
regulations.
his feet. If I would much rather see, because I think this is inevitable anyway. I'd rather see you quit and Kirk and Steve walk with you, and Kirk starts a fucking subscription program than see you kiss Dave Portnoy's feet.
Yeah.
Fuck Dave Portnoy and Barstool. I don't really care for either of
Fuck
them.
that.
The Kirk Minahan show, Barstool marriage is not long for this world.
No.
I think we're lucky, not lucky, but if there was a show tomorrow, I'm afraid of what Kirk might say. I'm glad he kind of has the weekend to cool it off, because I mean, hearing Portnoy talk after you guys were off the air, saying he was ready to go and ready to just cancel the whole show.
Yeah.
What's going to stop him from doing that a month down the road? It's like, why put all your eggs in this
Well,
basket if
I texted the guys right after we were done, and I was like, I think the conversation after they hung up with us was more interesting than while we were on the air. Because after we were off, it kind of came up that they were just, if it didn't go a certain way, they were just going to cancel us. I find that interesting. I find that to be an odd instinct, because it's almost an Entercom type of reaction to say, hey, Kirk might be getting good numbers. He's doing very well. But is it really worth the hassle? Because at the end of the day, as much as they're worried about, whatever, pick your liberal outlet, writing a hit piece about the show, the only people that have given us any negative press on the Kirk Minahan show is Barstool Sports. Steve loves pointing that out. Is that the only negative reaction we've got from any media outlet, or the most negative reaction we've gotten, is Barstool Sports, which is, I don't know what they're worried about, because they're the ones that get all up in arms every time something happens.
they're never going to allow your podcast to become a giant. It's just not going to happen. The style that you guys do, that's not what they're focusing their brand on.
Well,
They want to.
I'll correct you in this sense, Matt. They'll allow it. Kirk has to do it on his own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kirk will have to, for the Kirk Minahan show to become a giant, he's gonna have to go do promotion on whatever shows, or there'll have to be some big story written about something that happens on the show. However you promote a podcast and get it to be huge, that's the only way it'll happen, because it's not going to be promoted the way Pardon My Take or Pick Your Podcast on there is, because I think they're a little afraid of the places Kirk is willing to go. I think I've been an easy target for that sometimes, because I kind of pile on and I tend to agree with Kirk on a lot of issues. And what do you think of this criticism of me? I kind of agree with it. The Portnoy's big thing with me is that I say shit, and then a couple days later when I'm questioned on it, I'm like, I didn't mean it. I was fucking mad, or I was whatever. Is that me being a pussy, or is that me just being a human being? Because I'm not going to stay that mad about a silly thing like Trenny Kuznirik for 48 hours.
Yeah, no, it's normal. I mean, everyone gets that. You can't,
Well, that's their big thing with me. That's their big thing with me is like, oh, he fires off and then he says he's kidding, or he didn't mean it, or he was angry. It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of human beings. I can't imagine. Portnoy did the same thing to me.
Yeah, it's easy when you have everything on Twitter and it's all right there to just be read. You can take anything out of context with one tweet.
And did you listen to the show today? Oh, PK, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me throw something in there.
Please do.
I mean, I think it seems like I was a Barstool fan, Stooley, before watching this, and then my friend, turned me on. He was from Boston. He knew all about Kirk. He turned me on to it, and I'm like, fuck this. Like, I've completely switched from a Stooley to a Minifan wholeheartedly just because. So I think that it was more just to get you guys off the ground, kind of capture that audience that wanted to watch or wanted to listen to the show, and now it's kind of like, fuck,
I really think that if it was promoted in a certain way, where maybe don't give it the level of promotion you give Pardon My Take, that's crazy. That show already makes a ton of money. I get it. But if you promote it in a way where you're talking about it enough, it gets a little publicity from the main Twitter accounts and social media accounts and everything, And you kind of spin it and, hey, we don't know what these guys are going to do. These guys are too wacky even for Barstool Sport. Spin it however you want. Disassociate from Kirk however you want. But you can make it a big podcast, not agree with everything they say, and still make boatloads of fucking money off of it if you want to.
Mike,
you heard
does that mean you think, because one of my questions tonight was Kirk the other day in Discord said he wants the show to be big. He kind of reversed course on that. One of my questions tonight was I was curious what you and the other guys think. What is that going to take? And it sounds like you're saying more promotion from Barstool would be a key aspect in growing the show. Do you think that's true? Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, I think if the show is on Barstool Sports, that's certainly a key aspect. I think that's an outlet with, millions of followers.
So is Kirk going to change? Is Kirk going to, because he's been adamant about, he doesn't give a fuck about promotion from Barstool. Do you think he will change? And do you think he has to change his tune on that to grow the show? Or are there alternative ways?
Good luck after this.
I don't think Kirk's going to change as a guy. I think lately he seems more willing to do stuff that he wasn't always willing to do. And that, whether that's stupid little Instagram videos or, just like extra show stuff like that is easy and will help promote the show on different platforms. Do an episode on YouTube once in a while, whatever the fuck.
Come on this show.
What's that? Come on this show. Yeah.
He should, right now.
Well, he's not a Minifan. He's Kirk Minahan.
I think he's the ultimate Minifan. Who's a bigger fan of Kirk Minahan than Kirk Minahan?
Listen, I can't break from my rule. I have steadfast rules that it's fans of the Kirk Minahan show. Kirk never listens, so I can't in good conscience book that. I can't in good conscience book.
Yeah, Andy was trying to blow the show up tonight, saying Kirk was going to be on.
I know.
I heard rumors that we were getting Kirk, KFC, and MHB tonight. That's the word. That's the word on the street.
Hey,
I'm thinking about joining Team Clancy. By the way, Team Portnoy.
Move.
Dave Portnoy's got Frankie and Tommy Smokes and these guys. Who's Kevin Clancy got? I think I should be a Team Clancy member.
I like Clancy. Clancy and Big Cat are the only two guys that have really won me over from Barstool because I didn't know anything. I knew Barstool existed. I kind of knew who Portnoy was through Kirk and EEI, and I knew that they were supposedly this big bad pirate ship, and they have fucking not lived up to that reputation at all. But KFC and Big Cat, I like them. I've migrated over to them some. They're the only two people.
That's where this whole issue is, Andy. That's why we're having this problem because everybody at Barstool thought Barstool had the biggest fucking balls in the game, and then Kirk Minahan came to town, and they realized that they weren't all that tough, and they weren't all that edgy. And they weren't getting into all the hot topics that we really want to talk about, at least our group of fans. And they're all shook because they haven't seen someone come in with a following like he has, with an attitude like he has, and with the brain that he has. I mean, he's intellectually on a different level.
It's funny you say that, man. I think the brain is the biggest thing. I think Kirk is a lot, not just smarter, but a lot, because I do believe Portnoy was a smart guy in a weird way.
Oh yeah.
But I think Kirk is not only smarter than most of the people there, but also more well-informed, well-read. We talked about it on the show today because the stupid intern show last night, Justin tried to say, I just don't know if Kirk reads anything. I think he has his minions tell him what's going on.
Really?
I'll be sure to correct Justin and assure him that Kirk reads fucking everything. Even their little dumb tweets that I'll have in the middle of the night or whatever. And if something's referenced, Kirk's like, "Oh, I saw you say this on Twitter the other night." You know what I mean? Like he reads fucking everything. He pays attention to the Discord, millions of articles the guy fucking reads. So he pays attention to everything. He's more well informed and well read than anyone at Barstool. And what that leads to is them thinking he's this political guy. So it's almost, I don't know if it's an excuse or what it is, but when something like Trenny comes up or Ben Albright or Donald Trump Jr., it gives them the excuse to say, hey, we're not a political place.
5% of what you guys do.
We stay away from politics. But the Kirk Minahan show kind of stays, even today, Kirk and Steve got in that debate about the war, and it was 5 minutes, I think, maybe 10 at most.
I enjoyed that.
Out of a 2-hour show. Well, that's the thing. You're welcome to enjoy. You can enjoy that for 10 minutes, and then you can maybe dislike the next 10 minutes or like it or whatever. I think there's so many topics hit in the course of a show that anyone's able to like a segment of it, which is, I think, the interesting thing. And that's the way you promote it if you're not afraid of it.
Yeah, and it's, are they like the biggest story in America today is Rose McGowan. I doubt they went near it. I haven't looked at barstool.com today because I refuse to even go to their website now. But, the biggest story in the nation, they're probably not talking about it because they're afraid to get involved.
Breaking news from my producer here, Mayo Man. DEC not coming on. Scared.
No.
What?
Not coming on.
Tough
So
work.
explain to me, what is the beef between you two? You and our disgraced president.
All right, I'll give you the nutshell version. But it's no secret. I'm maybe because I'm obsessed with a podcast that's all about cancel culture. I'm always afraid of getting in trouble at work for shit I say on Twitter.
Sure.
So I'm taking a risk even admitting this. But on Twitter, I'm ashamed to say I call DEC kind of boring.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. Can you guys beep that? Can you bleep that out? Is it too late? Should I
I don't
give
care
him
for that.
just
He's my
enough-
buddy. I think he's a real spitfire.
Yeah, but
I think he's a ball
you
player.
you were teaming up with who, and you were relentlessly coming at him, giving him shit.
No,
while you're
I
sitting
didn't.
there patting yourself on the back for every little.
Oh, you
joke
were
that
teaming
you
up with
made on
somebody.
Twitter.
I don't understand this teaming up.
There was a tag team I'm not aware of?
Yeah, what is that about?
I mean, from my
Uh-oh.
side where I was watching, it looked like you and a certain redhead were kind of dual coming at DEC for a while.
That I don't like.
you think
I
in
don't
a,
like
in a
DEC's
coordinated
voice. His
effort?
voice
Like
is
I'm.
just-
I
like
mean,
annoying.
I'm
You don't like
DMing
DEC
Brendan
either,
about how
PK?
we're
maybe
gonna
it
go with
wasn't
DEC.
I
coordinated.
like him. I
but
don't
the
like his
timing-
voice.
The time, maybe he was jumping on you. I don't
think
know, but
that's yeah.
timing
Let me tell
was-
you,
the
I don't
timing
give a
was right
fuck
there.
what Rich Kelleher does.
no
if
need
I
to say
tweet
that name
something
here.
Whoa.
If I don't- if
Yeah.
I-
We don't say that name here.
What do I call him? RK?
Redheaded fuck.
Okay.
Devil.
So if RHF jumps on a train that I started, what am I going to do about that?
No,
Right.
it just
Jump in front,
in
bro.
the moment it looked like it was coordinated.
Hey Matt, let me ask you something. Are you on that private thread?
What private thread?
The private Minifan thread on Twitter?
I didn't know there was one.
Get me on that.
Okay.
What's that look?
What do you mean? I'm not
Matt's
on there
on
either.
there.
What are you talking
Matt's
about? I
on
don't know anything
Matt's
about it.
fucking- Matt's on there. You can tell Matt's on there because he's coming at me with this theory that seems pretty well thought out about me teaming up with Kelleher, which is just fucking absurd. And it makes me think that DEC went on there because DEC and Chris from Wakefield in their podcast were talking about a Mayo Kelleher show. So this
I saw
there's
that
like a
floated on
team up-
Twitter. That was floated on Twitter
Keep
that
saying
you
his
guys
name.
were going to do your own thing. I said it was, the spoiled condiments, mayo in the ketchup bottle.
Oh, that's actually okay. Well, with an idea like that, how could we not do it? But no, I don't have any. There was no coordinated effort with anyone. All I did. Here's what happened. I saw that Chris from Wakefield and DEC, both of whom I like, but I go back and forth with Chris sometimes. But they tweeted that they're going to do the show together. So I said, "Oh, good. I'm curious to find out if you guys are friends because you're both kind of boring guys, or if it's an opposites attract kind of thing, and Chris is going to be a fucking firecracker." And DEC, who I've never seen really say anything mean about anybody, retweets it with 2 words, fuck you. Then he calls me one of the biggest pieces of shit on Twitter. Mind you, OJ Simpson's on Twitter, and ISIS uses Twitter to claim responsibility for terrorist attacks. But I'm right up there with them because I called them kind of
That's
boring.
fair.
And
I
that
think
was your
I'll
first shot.
agree
There
with
was
you.
nothing that came before that.
What my sense is that DEC hates me and has just never vocalized it before. So I think it was maybe a year's worth of him fucking hating the Mayo guy that spewed forth.
I could
But
see
that's what
that.
started it, was me calling him kind of boring. And then
Yeah, why do a lot of people seem to hate you, Andy?
I
Why
know.
is that?
I don't know. I thought I was a lovable scamp who gets in there and mixes it up, and then people don't like me. So
Why haven't I think both of you? No offense to PK, but you're new here. But I think both Matt and Andy should have gotten a shot by now on the Minifan show
DC
as
won't do it.
DC's new co-host.
He won't do it
Why
I'd
not?
rather know
Matt,
that I
think
think
you would be
didn't go
Matt,
on.
you would be
because
good.
he doesn't
No
like me.
offense, Andy.
I don't know about a full-time
Oh wait,
co-host.
wait. What
but
did
I would do
PK
a
say that
show.
I shouldn't be offended
PK,
by?
what are you saying?
Well, I'm just saying Matt is obviously good. Basically, your co-host, Mike, and I think he would be better than you, Andy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Matt's good. I
thanks.
think I'd be equal or better, but
No,
I can't disagree that
Andy
Matt's
brings
good.
a good kind of contrarian point of view, which you always need. He's
But-
critical.
But what bothers me is when people like Chris from Wakefield call me a contrarian because I don't play the contrary. So basically, if I give you a contrarian opinion, it is my genuine opinion. Like DEC, when he was on with MHB, I always kind of thought, this guy's a little bit of a drip, but I like him and I love the show, and I really do admire the amount of work he puts into it. So, but then there's part of me that when I see people 1,000 tweets about how great DEC is, and I've always had this thought in my head that he's kind of boring, then there's part of me that's like, fuck it, I'm going to say he's kind of boring because no one else is saying that right now. But I wouldn't say I think he's kind of boring just to be a dick and throw it out there. I'm surprised he gives
a shit because we say that all the time. Mostly Kirk.
Because it was from me. Well, yeah, Kirk opened the fucking show 2 days ago calling DEC and Chris from Wakefield boring. Kirk made the joke that I made, but I'm OJ Simpson to DEC.
There are a lot of people in this whole world that are very insecure. I mean, myself included sometimes. And, you know, people kind of get rubbed the wrong way when they get put on blast in front of a big audience.
Yeah.
So
the only unfortunate thing. Oh,
PK,
yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. So this was something that I was thinking of before this. So from a person that is a real acronym and my name stands for my first and middle initial, Patrick Keating. What is the genesis of the whole MHB DEC thing? I've never understood that.
Well, that's it. So you might be new.
You might be new to the crew.
You're very new.
So MHB is Mark Hannon's balls. Mark Hannon is the guy that took over and runs Entercom Boston now. And DEC is drunk Eric Curtis. Chris Curtis.
I know about Curtis.
Yeah. And he used to be an alcoholic. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
So when did you come on, PK? When did you come on board?
Well, my friend Matt actually told me about it in the beginning of the semester. So like September, August.
Oh, you're young.
Every show.
Did you listen all the way back?
Yeah, I did.
That's unbelievable.
And
that's
I also
a lot
like
to catch up.
I liked Enough About Me too a lot. I listened to a lot of those.
Oh wow! So you've been doing a lot of Kirk listening for the last couple of months.
I don't know about other podcast apps, PK, but on Podcast Addict, if you go to the Mutt and Callahan account with that awesome picture of the two of them, you can scroll all the way back, and I think it goes back to 2017 last I looked, and you can get a lot of the old Kirk and Callahan episodes. So I think you'd like those.
YouTube channel too.
I don't promote that because of DC.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they're there. No, they're there too.
So are you spreading the word? Are you doing the job of a true Minifan and spreading the word in college?
Spreading the word all throughout Providence.
How's it catching on with the youth?
No, PK, tell me something. Would you say you agree with most of Kirk and Mike's and Steve's takes on the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I've held on. Like when my friend Matt first told me about it, I was like, listened to it, and I was like, it's too long. I don't want to listen to it. But then, I don't know, got hooked, and I actually started listening to it. And then
he sounds like a heroin addict, and then I don't know where it went. I just all of a sudden,
but you agreed with what they talk about.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that's where you went with this, because I've been catching a lot of heat this week for people saying that I agree with Kirk too often. When I come on a fan
You're a fan
show,
of the show, for Christ's sake. I've had enough of that bullshit.
My Twitter name is literally Minifan Matt. Do you think I'm going to disagree with him on what world are we living in?
It's fucking nuts. And I even got it today where it's like, after I leave, it's like, oh, Kirk has a blind guy kissing his ass. It's like, yeah, I gravitated to a show like this because this is the kind of radio I like. I think Kirk is often right. If someone can prove to me where I'm being phony, then I'll admit I'm just a sycophant ass kisser. But I had this kind of train of thought before I ever knew who Kirk Minahan was. I believe that a lot of Minifans are kind of in the same boat, that the reason you gravitate towards Kirk Minahan is not because you just want someone's ass to kiss, is because there's a dying breed out there. There's a dying, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But there's an audience out there that has a thirst for shows that are going to question people, different takes than you usually get, guys that want guests on to challenge them, and absurdity and silliness and prank calls and all the goofy shit that's done on the show as well. I think there's a void out there is maybe the word I'm looking for, that hasn't been filled in a long time, that Kirk fills, and that's why Minifans and Mincels gravitate to this kind of a show. It's not that you just want to kiss someone's ass. Matt, if Kirk said stop listening tomorrow, your life doesn't change at all, other than you don't get to listen to a show you like. There's no benefit to kissing the guy's ass.
I would
kill myself.
Yeah, I have to listen. I don't have a choice.
But that's my point is that you're not doing it to kiss his ass. There's no benefit to you other than you enjoy listening to the show. I don't understand this thing where it's like, oh, you're sycophants. It's like, it's kind of, we just like the show. And I like being on it.
Do you think there's a single entertainer out there that has caused his audience to kind of, scratch and claw for content the way the Minifans have over the course of his career? Like,
Howard Stern, maybe. Might be the last guy that I can think of.
Yeah.
And I you know what? And I'll say this only because every time a Friday, every couple months I go on Barstool Sports on a Friday, Barstool Radio on a Friday to be humiliated. And today was one of those days. One of those days. It's one of those days I go through Twitter and it's funny. Like the people that have no idea what the situation is automatically say Blind Mike's a pussy, Blind Mike's an asshole, get him out of here. So I think Portnoy has that kind of a following too. I think Kirk's is much more loyal. Like, I think if Portnoy died tomorrow and Big Cat took over, it would be business as usual. Whereas if Kirk died tomorrow, there would be riots in the streets. I think that's one big difference. But, there are only a few guys with that type of an audience. PK, I'm curious, since you're kind of a new fan, is it weird having, luckily a lot of people in my life listen to the show. So when I want to talk about the show, I'm able to. Is it weird when you are obviously obsessed with the show in the sense that you've listened all the way back and all the way back to Enough About Me? Is it weird, kind of obsessing over it and then not having anyone to talk to about it necessarily?
Well, I do. I only have one other person. Well,
okay.
I have one guy, this guy that lives in my house named Matt, and he listens to the show just like me, like the same every day, and does the whole Twitter shit, does all that stuff. So like me and him kind of debrief about it and sort of, talk about it. And
are you on Twitter?
I have an outlet.
I have nobody. I have Twitter.
That was the sad. Matt almost made Kirk cry, for Christ's sake, when he said that, I have no one in my life I can talk about that. No one understands me except for the Minifans.
Honestly, like I got started listening to Kirk because my dad was like, you need to listen to this guy. And that used to be our thing. Like every day we would call each other after show and be like, oh my God, could you believe what happened today? And now since it's on the podcast, he has such a hard time finding it and like making it work with his work computer. And because he's in his 60s now. So he's just like, he can't keep up anymore. And I don't know if that's how common that is, because he was pretty close to a diehard for an older guy and it kind of slipped away from him.
Hey, Matt, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask Justin one thing real quick. Justin, if
Sure.
we want to play Matt's prank call, can we do that? Even though I didn't have you cut it up.
From Browdy?
Okay. Yeah, the show tweeted out. So find that.
Oh, yeah.
I
haven't heard
before
it.
these guys get out of here. Justin's going to find it. But Andy, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Well, Matt said he used to call his dad after each EEI show and say, can you believe what happened? Do you ever feel, Matt, I know Kirk doesn't want to go back to EEI, and I'm not saying I want it either, but part of the appeal to me at EEI was that rebel with a cause kind of thing, like Kirk against the authority, the powers that be.
Did you listen to Barstool Radio today?
Well, that's part of why I do like the move to Barstool. Like I remember I said when Kirk was going to go to Barstool, he'll be the cranky uncle at Barstool and there'll be conflict. But I do sometimes miss, like one example I always give, I don't fucking talk to anybody about this, but is the Kirk on WEI used to do the Tube Galore categories, and it had that edge of like, holy shit, this guy should not be saying this on air right now.
He's breaking the rules.
Right.
And now he can play the whole video. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different dynamic. And I asked Kirk in the Discord about that, and he just said, I don't miss a fucking thing about EEI.
Well, I mean, I don't think he does.
The only thing I would say about that, Andy, is like, I think that like Mike and Steve and Kirk, they underestimate how appealing the podcast medium and like how easy it is for people like me who know how to use a phone and like know how to do all that, know how to listen to other podcasts and stuff. I think you guys underestimate how like people just, my kids my age are not going to go into the car and listen to the radio. No one has like a little handheld radio. It's like
100%.
It's
People
dead.
I mean, you heard Kirk talking about Greg Hill's ratings. And I'll give Greg Hill credit. Hell of a lot better than I thought he was going to do. Way better than I thought he was going to do.
That's what I was saying.
But part of that, I don't know how big a part, but part of that is because the people that are listening to radio in general are just dying down. Even 5 years ago, if you got so Howard Stern, I remember listening to an old Howard Stern clip where he was talking about being number one in New York with like a 5 rating, which, knowing what Kirk and Callahan and Toucher and Rich got, didn't make any sense to me. And then I kind of realized, A, you're in New York City, a much bigger market, but B, so many more people are listening to the radio back then. Now, it's old people or people that are stuck in their car and don't want to drain their data that use the radio. That's essentially what it is. Most other people get their content not from EEI, not the Sports Hub, not WFAN, it's Barstool Sports, it's Joe Rogan, it's Bill Burr, it's all the millions of podcasts on the internet, even Sirius, which I think is kind of dying, but Sirius has a ton of subscribers. So all over the place, you're getting content where, maybe there is that edge when you say a naughty word. But first of all, that's not being allowed in radio. Like, now you're talking about the tube galore thing in 2020. That would not be allowed.
Look what happened to Kirk.
Even with Kirk, it would be.
You also can't re-listen to it. Like, people wouldn't be able to do what I did and go back and listen to.
Yeah. You can do it on like the radio.com app, which
that's what I did. That's how I listened to Kirk and Callahan. I would listen Andy, a little bit in the morning. That's no way to live, my friend.
Dude, I used to once I started getting hooked on Kirk, I would literally wake up hours early and go to work for 6 a.m. That way I could be at my desk with my headphones in and get all of my work on the computer done for 4 hours before I would hit the phones. And
you're gonna make Kirk cry again, man.
It literally changed my work schedule for like a good year and a half until I left that job, and I was a little freer with my schedule. But like, Andy, to take your point about the allure of breaking the rules on the radio, to circle it all the way back around to Portnoy, one thing that scared the shit out of me today was when Portnoy said, Mike, I don't know if you heard this. He said, I'm not one of those WEEI executive pussies. Like, I'll end this shit right now.
Yes.
That's kind of what got me scared, is like, he doesn't care about you're a drop in the bucket for him, where for EEI, Kirk was the whole shebang.
But that's what they're calling him out. I don't think Portnoy would have dropped them because of content or pushing the trendy thing. It's because Mike dared him to fire him, and then Portnoy was thinking, well, if I fire him, Kirk's going to say he's going to quit. And at that point, the rulers are out, and it's a dick measuring contest. And Portnoy was like, "Then I'm going to fucking end it if they if they pull that card on me." And I think that's going to be inevitable, right?
Boy, the more I'm thinking about it's funny. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking, I should have done it. Kirk would have gone with me, and then if I could rewind time, just realize that I'm like, yeah, fuck you, man. And then Kirk's like, yeah, I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna keep doing this.
or stab him in the foot.
It's an idea. It's an idea. Well, let me tell you, Andy, I think you'll like knowing the personality, your personality, the little I do. I threw Steve and Kirk an idea immediately after I hung up that they both liked. So I think if I do have to do that, I think I got a decent idea.
All right,
in mind that the Minifans will like.
I look forward to it.
Before we get you guys out, actually, Matt or Andy or any of you, because we have a short staff in the second half. You guys are welcome to stick around for the second half of the show. But before we end the first half, I do want to get to Matt from Providence's prank call, which we can allegedly play at any moment. Let's do it this way. Justin, start playing it, and then there are points where I'm going to want to stop it. So just pause it where I tell you.
Hi, Matt.
Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Marjorie. I'm such a big fan. I'm so happy to be on here talking.
Yeah,
we're thrilled to have you. What's up?
So I know you're talking about the snooze button.
Yes.
I have an alarm set.
So pause. Matt, what the fuck were they talking? So for anyone that doesn't know,
I saw
this is Jim and Marjorie, the show that Trenny was on. If you don't know who Trenny is, then I don't know how you've gotten this far in the episode. So go fuck yourself. But Matt prank called the Jim and Marjorie show today to ask them why they weren't talking about Trenny. He set it up with this question that I'm fascinated. What the fuck were they talking about before you called?
So I may or may not have been, sitting at my desk at work and gotten a DM on Twitter. Just happened to have my phone in my hand from a pretty important person in our world. And it said, Jim and Marjorie taking calls on the snooze button. Okay. Here's the phone number.
So you don't even know?
I had no idea. So I got the DM from someone
what
that
could they be talking about?
So the topic of conversation, I sat on hold for maybe like 10 minutes. It was like your New Year's sleep resolutions and do you use the snooze button? And one of them hated the snooze button and one of them used the snooze. I think Marjorie.
Oh, that's a classic argument right there.
Yeah. You know, so I thought to myself,
fuck the snooze button.
How do I make the snooze button work with what I want to talk about?
PK, you're an anti. Let's dive into this. You're an anti-snooze button guy. Tell me your thoughts.
Yes, I mean, I just have to wake up really early for swimming all the time. So
I was kidding, you son of a bitch. So, all right, Justin, continue playing now that we've got, I guess, the context.
For 5 a.m. My body, I'm up at 4:55 on the dot. And my personal take on this
Pause.
is the snooze button.
Really?
So, I mean, I do the Marjorie impression where she seems like she's half in the bag. This was the most alive I've ever heard her. Listen, you talk about the military making okay symbols. She's, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. But you call in and talk about the snooze button. She is fascinated. Oh, my goodness, Matthew. Thank you for calling in with this subject. So keep playing.
Is one of the laziest tools a human being can use. It's almost as lazy as your guys' refusal to talk about the Trenny Kuznarek situation. And, you know, I'm just wondering when you're going to get to that. And stop
Thank you for going. Well, we actually, you know, I know it's weird, but we sort of decide what we talk about on your show. And let me tell you, Matt, when you have a show, we'll call you.
So first
I'm
of all,
here, Jim. I'm here.
First of all, he said, could you bring that back in just a couple seconds, Justin? Because I want to hear the very end of that again. Because he says something that makes no sense. Before we get to the point where he's just kind of a pussy about it.
Well, actually, you know.
Go ahead.
I know it's weird, but we sort of decide what we talk about on your show. And let me tell you, Matt, when you have a show, we'll call you and ask you what you should talk about. But thank you very much.
When you have a show, we'll call you and ask you what you should talk about.
He confused himself.
But you were calling their show and telling them what to talk about.
When in reality,
you weren't asking them what they should talk about.
That's a taxpayer-funded operation, so that is my show.
That's what you should have said. Oh, they muted you probably.
Well, yeah, they did. I was trying to talk to him. I was trying to say, you told someone on Twitter you were going to address this, and now you're not. Like, it's there. You've acknowledged its presence, and you're still just going to sit here. At least say something.
Was Trenny there?
I don't think so.
No. So maybe, and I acknowledge I'm probably wrong on this. Maybe they're waiting till Trenny's back in to talk about it. Maybe. If not,
she in? Was she not in the other day
with Sue O'Connell?
Yeah.
So it could be that they didn't want to substitute bringing it up.
And then who's the woman on Twitter?
Emily Rooney.
She was like, oh well, Jim and that's the thing. Emily Rooney says, well, Jim and Marjorie will be back tomorrow to talk about it.
But Jim is a condescending dick in that clip.
Of course.
Because if they are going to talk about it,
he's a condescending dick all the time.
He should have said, Matt, I hear you. I understand that it needs to be addressed, and we are going to get to it next time Trenny's on. Instead, he pulls the fucking, when you have a show, which is what Chris from Wakefield said on DEC's podcast.
Which is, you know what, though? I'm right here. I'm on a show. My DMs are open. He can give me a call. He's probably watching. He's a big fan. So,
I know, Mike, how come he hasn't come on the podcast?
So he has once.
But you guys, I mean,
I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to Jim in a second. But the thing I hate about, on this show, I say, put whatever you want in the chat. I'll tell Justin right now. If you have any questions for me or you think we're all assholes, whatever, put it in the chat. Justin will read it. Because the people listening don't have a show. That's why I wanted to do Mike and the Minifans, because I wanted to talk to people that aren't on a show that want to talk. So many people talk on Discord and Twitter all the time that obviously some of them must want to have an actual conversation with people. So that's what radio callers are. They're people that want to have a conversation with the hosts that they think would be interesting. Now, granted, maybe if Matt called in and said, I noticed you had talked about Trenny, maybe they'd feel a little safer than being ambushed, kind of,
I was
on
guess. Attack mode.
But Matt wouldn't have gotten through. That's the issue, is that if Matt said, I want to talk about Trenny Kuznarek, they would either would have hung up on him or he would have stayed on hold for 20 minutes. And they never would have gotten to him, which is the most pussy move there is. But yeah, so Jim Browdy was on the show once. We randomly called him to ask him about, or Steve randomly called him to ask about something.
Those are some of my favorite segments.
Oh no, it wasn't a what do you do? We were legitimately calling him.
No, but I just love when Kirk on an impulse says call somebody. Those have led to some of the most golden moments on the show.
Of course,
I kind of like it now that they have numbers like preloaded too of people who know what's going on.
I sent Steve my number. I mean, for the exact reason that I wanted to come on, like in the Minifans. Like,
yes,
I did not expect you to respond to me.
Yeah, I
Mike,
think dialing a complete.
I'll respond to anyone. That's the thing is, I will have anyone. I'll have anyone on. That's why I don't get why people are like, oh, you don't have people.
Awesome,
you don't have people that question you.
Which is why this show is great.
Do you see Jim doing a longer form, substantive segment with Kirk on the show since they're text pals or whatever they are?
No, that's the weird thing, and Kirk brings this up all the time. Is that guys that fucking there are people in media that text him. What was he talking about the other day? Oh, the Trenny thing, I think, where he goes, where he says, I've gotten texts from six different members of Boston media that aren't talking about this. They have the ability to. They're just afraid. And they reach out to Kirk and say, can you believe this bullshit? And then when it comes time to write something, where the fuck are they?
And I'm sure, too, when Kirk...
And Jim Browdy's one of those guys.
And then Kirk will talk about the thing they're afraid to talk about. Kirk will catch backlash, and then they don't have his back. That must drive him fucking crazy.
Well, that's what drives me nuts about the Sue O'Connell thing, is that Sue is someone who is on that side. She's a liberal. She's tight with the Shirleys and the Trennys of the world, as far as I assume. I don't know a lot about her, but she's in on that side, and she could say to them, "Hey, Kirk is not poison. Kirk had me on his show and gave me a fair shot. Kirk's been good to me." And Kirk's a reasonable guy. Kirk doesn't fucking, he'll fly off the handle maybe if you get into a heated argument, but it's not going to be this thing where he's shouting you down and not letting you talk and insulting you and all this bullshit. Sue was the perfect person in Boston. There are plenty of better people that could do it nationally, but Sue's the perfect person in Boston that could say, "Hey, give this guy a chance. Have him on your show. Hear him, or go more importantly, go on his show. Hear him out. If you believe in your point, then you should be able to argue it with him and sound at least coherent." But Sue was the perfect person to do that and completely coward.
She went complete moonbat though. She refused to read that article. What? Because Shattuck hasn't read the entire Mueller report.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why she doesn't have Kirk's back. Is she wanted? I mean, I don't know if you could call it my job, because me and her on the show would have been very different. But I think she wanted that seat, and when she didn't get it, she was like, "Oh well, fuck Kirk. I'm not going to defend him now."
Really?
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about her. That's my guess. I know she wanted a job with Kirk. She wanted kind of a regular spot on the show, maybe, whatever it would be.
Tell her to go work with Jerry Callahan.
What she was probably afraid to do that, but which wouldn't make any sense. Why would you be afraid to work with Jerry? And
he's much
Kirk?
Safer.
Yeah, right. But I think she wanted a spot with Kirk in some form or fashion, whether it was a weekly guest or a daily guest or whatever the fuck it was. She didn't get it. And then she was like, well, now I'm not defending him, which is the biggest pussy way, because when I didn't work with Kirk, I defended the guy. When I didn't think there was a chance I would ever work with him, I defended the guy. If you believe in something, you defend the fucking person. And you know what? As much as I might hate Dave Portnoy right now, the next time he's in trouble for saying something or old tweets get dug up or whatever the fuck it is, you know whose back I'm going to have is Dave fucking Portnoy. So don't be a fucking pussy and say, well, this person didn't give me a job. I'm afraid to defend them. Stick to your fucking guns. And if you believe in someone, you should back them 100%.
If you want to know whether someone in Boston media or New England media has any balls or any journalistic integrity, all you have to do is ask whether they have covered the Murchison story. Because whether you like Kirk or not, the fact is one guy with assistance from the Boston Globe reportedly cost Entercom $8 million in ad revenue and changed the landscape of sports media in Boston. That is a fucking story. That is a story worthy of reporting on and diving into, and none of them will fucking touch it. It's unbelievable. Even if you think personally that Bob Murchison was right, but you're a reporter in this area, somebody should be digging into that. It is an incredible story, regardless of how you feel about Kirk or any of the players involved. What that guy did on his own is incredible. and nobody has really written about it. The one story that had him in it I don't think did it justice. It really needs to be dug into.
I'll do you one better and say that if you haven't written about Murchison, that's one thing. I'm sure there are people that don't want the hassle. I might think you're a coward, but whatever. Look what he did. He successfully ran Kirk and Jerry out. So if you're a lower level person that's afraid of that, I guess I understand.
I'm scared. I just said his name.
I'll say if you A, won't cover Bob Murchison, and then B, won't come on Kirk's show when there's a big issue like Trenny or Shirley or whoever the fuck else, then you're a total fucking fraud. And I'll one up on the Murchison thing. How much of a pussy is Shirley for not defending Kirk in the Murchison thing, considering she knows Kirk and Jerry aren't bad guys. She knows they're not she worked with them fucking weekly, whatever it was. She knows they're not terrible guys. And
you said Shirley. Do you mean Sue?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean either. I meant Trenny.
Yeah, Trenny. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Trenny worked with them. What would stop Trenny from saying, hey, you guys are completely wrong? No one's going to say, oh, Trenny's a Republican now. Trenny's a conservative.
Because she likes hanging out at the cocktail parties with her friends, shooting the shit.
No, you know what, Matt? Not even that. She never liked those guys. That's what I believe. That she always looked at them as,
using the platform.
Their show, I'll argue with them. They're nice enough guys, but you know what? They're kind of pieces of shit. Or they're these guys that'll make jokes that I don't agree with or whatever it is. I don't think she thinks they're monsters, but I think she kind of looks down her nose at Kirk and Jerry and Barstool Sports and people like that. I think she looks down her nose at them and says, I don't need these fucking assholes.
I mean, most people on her side are looking down their nose.
Yeah. All right, boys. Like I said, any of you are welcome to stay if you want because we've got a short staff this afternoon. What the fuck am I talking about? On the second half of the show. What's that? Just Jackson. So all you guys can stay if you want.
Can would I possibly be able to jump in later?
Sure. Yeah, if we're still doing it, you can leave. Come back. Matt, you want to stay?
I'll hang.
PK, you want to stay?
Yeah, I'm like, it didn't seem like you mentioned those two first, so I guess I'll.
PK, don't sulk on me.
No, thank you, though.
You're gonna get your chance. Don't worry. Everyone's gets their time to shine. Don't fucking sulk on me.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. You guys are both welcome to stay the second half. Andy, you can pop back in if you want. Only Jackson coming. So this is what you get, guys.
Unlike DDC, I'm actually gonna go feed my children.
All right, Andy. Good luck. Bring Jackson in. So this is what you get. Jackson, I got to give Jackson credit, but before I do that, I got to say the second half of the show is supposed to be people that disagree, people that reached out to me and said, hey, you're looking for someone that disagrees with you? I want to come on. I want to talk about this, this, and this. I say, all right, come on. I had 5 people lined up. Honestly, I had 5 people lined up. I had 5 people lined up for the second half of the show. They all fucking backed out, except for Jackson. And I'll give Jackson credit again, because he's the guy that came on, even though I think he's a fucking moron for this. He came on trashing Kirk about the Pizzagate thing, right? That was you?
Yes.
So I give Jackson credit because he's a guy that sticks to his guns and is willing to come on if he disagrees or whatever the case may be. So before we get into anything else, Jackson, I guess the floor is yours. And criticize me on whatever you want, whether it's the first half of the show, things I've done in the past, or the show in general. What's your beef? Not first of all, I should say not that you necessarily have one. I just put out to Patrick in the Discord and said, if there's anyone that wants to disagree with me about anything, they're welcome on. And Jackson's the only one that stepped up.
Right. So I don't have Twitter. I have Discord. I like it. I think it's fun. And I guess after that broadcast went out, my phone lit up with people saying, you should go on. Because to be perfectly honest, I criticize you specifically behind your back, and everyone said,
very good. Well, then let me get to that in a second. But first, let me tell you, Jackson, or anyone else, if you're a golfer, whether you love me or hate me, you should go to Broken T Virtual Golf in Lakeville, Massachusetts, 166 County Road in Lakeville, Mass. My friend Mark Kitchen, PGA Pro, will give you lessons. If you're a guy just starting out, just learning, or you need to work in your game over the winter, PGA Pro Mark Kitchen will help you out. And Broken T Virtual Golf is the place to go with their multiple full swing virtual screens, their 40 world famous courses, and the craft. I gotta emphasize the craft beers because they got a bunch of local beers, which I like. So get shit-faced while you're golfing. Or if you take it more seriously, you can do that as well and just work on your game over the winter. That's most important. I think Broken T is going to be with us down the road. But this is my last chance to remind you for now that Broken T Virtual Golf in Lakeville, Massachusetts is the place to go for some winter fun or to work on your game. Let them know Mike and the Minifans sent you. If you want to work with PGA Pro Mark Kitchen or enjoy anything else they've got there, mention Mike and the Minifans. You get a little taste, a little cheddar back. So thebrokenT.com. That's T-E, Broken T, Virtual Golf. All right, Jackson, you son of a bitch. What's your problem with me?
Well, to be fair, I'm a fan first.
I don't care either way. I think people think I'm sensitive or something. I don't care.
No need to preface it.
Criticize away. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just who I am. So I guess that you do care, and I guess also me criticizing behind your back is, you mentioned earlier, there's radio calls. People are used to calling the radio when they hear something they disagree with or they want to have a conversation about. Your show, although radio sort of based, doesn't really have that option. So we turn to other venues to, talk about the show. I guess my beef with you, if you wanted to have a beef, would be, sometimes you're a little weak in your approach, and it's disheartening because as a fan, you want to see you take the next step. And a lot of times,
how do you mean?
Right.
Like arguing with Kirk, you mean, or?
Well, there is that aspect where I do think you're a bit of a yes man. There's a lot of let
me ask you this, because this is one I get a lot. Sure. What am I saying yes to that you believe I disagree with? You know what I mean? Like, basically what I'm saying is, what am I being phony about? I know I agree with the guy a lot, but I tend to think it's more. I don't think there's anything I'm lying about. What's an example of something I disagree with him on, or I'm not voicing my disagreement on?
I guess I don't have one. It's just more of a you sit there.
That's the problem. Is you can't say I'm a yes man and then not have anything that I should be.
What else do you bring to the table?
I think that's why, but that's why we're all here. We're all cut from the same cloth. We're like Mike's a Minifan first when it really comes down to it.
I'm allowed to disagree with shit. You're allowed to disagree with shit.
I'm allowed to, but that doesn't mean you have to just for the sake.
You don't. I'm just saying, bring something else to the table. Otherwise, you sit there as a yes man.
You don't like
so you don't think I'm good on the show in general, then?
I don't think you bring enough to the table to shoot down people who say you're a yes man. And to be honest,
I don't really understand what you mean by that.
You're not like the funny guy. You're not the producer. You're not all these other things.
You're saying I'm not the funny guy.
I think Mike's funny. Right. He's just like, obviously, Mike, your stand-up skills aren't honed yet. That's obvious. I think you have like little quips and stuff in there that make people laugh.
So Jackson's saying I like you, but you're not funny. You're not interested. What do you like about me then?
I think you are funny. I got cut off. I said you're not the funny guy. You're not the guy in the show who's like, you're not Addie Lang. No offense, but
I don't follow what you mean. Really, I'm funny, but I'm not the funny guy. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, you are funny. Like
you're saying I'm no Fitzy.
I don't think Fitzy was my comparison.
Justin's feeding me.
Whatever.
If it worked, I never would have said it, but Justin fed me that line.
So I think you are funny.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're the funny guy yet. That's the other thing is we're all rooting for you. And I'm not here.
I appreciate that. Thanks. No, so what do you I guess my problem is, okay, you're saying I don't bring enough to the table to do what is your problem with me? That I shoot down who?
No, I said you have a problem with people calling you yes man.
Yeah.
However, you don't bring enough things to the table. You don't bring enough other things to the table to shoot down that criticism. And when you shoot it down, before tonight, it would always be, well, if you don't like the dynamic of the show, don't listen. That's kind of
I think that's true. You were saying that you like me on the show, so I'm not really sure what the criticism is then.
It was the Kirk Minishans show. We cannot like you on the show. We would not.
No, you said you do like me on the show, though.
I'm okay with you on the show.
Okay, so all right. See, that's what you got to say. You got to say you don't like me on the show, or none of this
put a
makes
percentage
sense.
on it. Put a percentage on it.
No, that's fine. You could put 0%.
I like Mike 100%. I like Mike on the show.
You don't have to like me at all. That's not the point of this. You don't have to like me at all. But what I'm saying is, I do think it's fine if you don't think I'm funny on the show. I think that I am, and I think the reason that I'm there is that when Kirk does sillier shit, like when they got into the Ward discussion, as much as I'll try to throw in a few lines here and there, I have fucking nothing to add to that. That's not what I'm there for. I think I'm there because when we do the sillier shit, I think Kirk wants someone to bounce off of that's a little different than Steve. And I think that's why I'm there. If you don't like me in that role, then there's nothing I could, if you just don't like me in that role, there's nothing I can do for you. But I don't know what to say. When you say I shoot down people that say I'm a yes man, I'm shooting it down because there's nothing I'm lying about. There's nothing that I'm vehemently against, but for Kirk, I'll say I agree with this. You see what I'm saying?
I get that. I'm just saying that's fine. But your rebuttal to that criticism to this date has been, well, then don't listen. Well, then we do like the Kirk Minahan show, and you
yeah. I don't know. Do I say that about the Kirk? I mean, you might even be right, but I don't know that I've said don't. I don't know that I have the balls to say don't listen to the Kirk Minahan show because it's not my show.
To be honest, I've heard multiple times you say if you don't like the dynamic,
I probably do. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't remember saying
says that probably.
No,
I feel like that's more of a Kirk thing than me, but you could be right.
No, but isn't one of the best things about the Kirk Minahan show the fact that it's, everything's just flowing. Nothing's forced. It just happens. And when you go down those rabbit holes of just stuff happening for 3 hours, you come up with some of the craziest shit that, some strictly produced show isn't going to have because they're so focused on hitting whatever topic they want to talk about in that segment.
Yeah, can I say that one of my favorite parts about Mike and when he's the funniest is when they go down that rabbit hole and when you find out Mike had too much pizza one weekend. I think that's awesome. Who doesn't have too much pizza with their boys one weekend? Yeah. I'm sitting, honestly, or like when you have an awkward Uber ride. I think you live an interesting life.
Now,
I love hearing about it.
There's where you're hitting on something is that I don't think I offer enough. And maybe this was Kirk's criticism of me a couple months ago when I balled my eyes up. That maybe I don't offer enough about here's the thing. I'm not that interesting a guy. So I think when shit like that does happen, I kind of do offer it up. I'm not doing a lot of interesting shit, but you might be right in the sense that I'll give you that. If you want to compare me to Artie Lang, say I'm not the Artie Lang of the show. Maybe I should have more, where I'm saying, hey, this wacky thing happened to me. You know what I mean? I get that criticism. I'll give you that.
It's not even a criticism. That's my favorite part about you on the show. And I also think you are funny. I thought your stand-up was funny. I think when Kirk puts you on the spot.
Now I'm really questioning his judgment.
Let's not get crazy here, Jackson.
Hey, come on. That wasn't bad. I've seen so much worse. And to be honest, a lot of times can't speak, think, wow, wouldn't Mike do so well in like an improv class where he could bring that back to the show? Or there's a lot of times where, okay, so fucking Dave Portnoy doesn't want you to write. So instead of just going and saying, oh, I'll kiss your feet, why don't you go and say, well, what the fuck do I have to do? Or, hey, I'm going to go take this writing class and I'm going to go down that road. I'm going to get really good at writing.
Jackson, I got to tell you,
he's blind.
I got to tell you, if I went to Dave Portnoy and said, hey, I took a writing class, may I write for you now? I'm not sure how you think the dynamic at Barstool Sports is, but I don't know how well that would be received.
No, that's fine. But there's also this like, poor me. I'm not going to the Christmas party. I don't want to go to Miami. I would fucking give up.
You're 100% wrong about. That I said I didn't want to go to those things?
You did. You're on the show. You're publicly saying, I don't really want to go to this Christmas party. It's only going to be like all
Jackson,
these
I had a ticket. I had a train ticket to go.
Right. What happened?
Kirk didn't go.
Right. But you also poo-pooed it when everyone was going.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't. I'm not friends.
He doesn't get along with them.
I'm not friends with those people. What should I say? Hey, everything. Hey, would you rather I go in and say, hey, this is going to be great. Those people love me. It's going to be so much fun when I go down there. No, I complain about having to go because those are my true feelings, and I think it's funny for us to bitch about having to go to a Christmas party. And then if we actually had to go, it would have been funny for me bitching about having to be there. And the thing with Miami, I've texted Kirk and said I want to go to Miami. I'm not allowed to go to Miami. Barstool did not allow me to go.
I mean, if they went to that Christmas party, if they went to that Christmas party, it would have ended up being like people standing there filming Mike standing by himself in the corner or something, like facing a wall.
Yeah, all it would have been like pictures of me looking closely at my phone.
Or like, it's probably in a dark room, so Mike will probably have his glasses off and people will be like, is he looking like why go deal with that shit anyways?
But I would have gladly dealt with it. The show as a whole did not go.
I would say I've been to plenty of company Christmas parties. Everyone goes into the same. Everyone gets a name tag. Everyone says, fuck this. Then you go in, everyone's in a good mood. It's a fucking company Christmas party.
Jack, and the show didn't go.
That's
and
a
it's in
frat
another,
house.
The show didn't go, and it's in another state.
Yeah, so you didn't go. That's fine. Previous to going.
No. The show didn't go.
You're going to the Super Bowl with fucking Barstool Sports. I'm
Jackson,
sorry.
Jackson,
That's
do
a great opportunity.
Do you have me confused with Kirk Minahan? Kirk's the one that doesn't want to go to the Super Bowl.
Plus, you want Mike to like get his hopes way up and then be like heartbroken when he doesn't go.
Super Bowl?
Jackson, I've texted Kirk and said I'm going to find a way down there. Barstool does not want me down there. I don't know what to tell you about you. You're just wrong about this.
Do you want to go to the Super Bowl? You excited about going?
I want to go down for the show. No, I don't want to go out and hang in a hotel with Tommy Smokes and fucking.
Kirk Daly tackled Roger Goodell last year. You don't think there's an opportunity for you to fucking hop on some fame train?
Of course there is, which is why I texted them and said I need to find a way to get down there.
Like Blind Mike at Media Night would be awesome. Just wandering around, bumping into people.
I would love that.
I don't know if you heard Barstool Radio today. I'm not allowed to. They're not paying for me to go.
And like,
if you want me to pay my own way, that's a different story. Then you're saying
it just seems like there's once in a lifetime opportunities that may not be there a year down the road. They'll never be there for a guy like me. And it does hurt or pain me to hear you, and whether or not behind the scenes it's different. As a listener, I take it away as, oh God, poor me. I got invited to the Barstool Christmas party. So I'm a pretty socially awkward guy. I don't like those environments. I have no interest in going to a place where you're in a dimly lit bar with loud music. So I lose the few senses I have left. I'm just not a fan of that type of shit. You think on air I should say, guys, gang, let's all keep our chins up about this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Do you think, I don't know if my coworkers are listening. Do you think I go to my Christmas party and think this is going to be a blast? Or do I think, hey, I'm going to see my bosses in a good mood. And you know what? The next time I have a work conversation with them, they're going to remember like, hey, he's an all right guy.
No, but can I tell you something, Jackson? I wouldn't listen to a podcast about your pleasant Christmas party.
That's what Barstool Christmas party is. Every fucking Christmas party on the planet is someone going, everyone schleps there and goes, I don't really want to fucking do this. And then you get there and it's a good time and it's fucking whatever.
Right.
Next time
we were doing was the honest thing.
On a train to get made fun of.
Jackson, but we didn't go is the problem. We were doing the bitching before.
Previous to you not going. So
we were doing the bitching before. Maybe I would have had a great time. But we didn't go is the problem. I was going to go. I was ready to go that day.
You're pissing and moaning about it.
On air, Justin. Jackson, whatever the fuck your name is.
I mean, call me wrong. Yeah, exactly. You're on air. I'm just saying, as a listener.
But those are my
on air. Feelings. You just think like that's Jackson, a shitty attitude.
Honestly,
Jackson, I didn't want to go to the Christmas party. So basically, your criticism of me is you want me to be kind of you. You want me to be you. You want me to be Jackson, basically. You want me to be excited to go to Christmas parties and disagree with Kirk for the sake of disagree with him.
No, I want you to tackle the things in your workplace that you see as barriers to further your talents and your career.
I was going to.
Because I'm a fan. I started this conversation for a specific reason, saying I'm a fan and I want to see you go places. And I think you're funny. And I think you have things to offer. I think it's your own piss poor attitude that gets in the fucking way of you being whoever the fuck you want to see in the end. I think you can't just sit back and say, why do people call me a yes man, where you're not fucking willing to go out there and do fucking things. And say, poor me and poor Steve, and Steve won't fucking conversate with me. And Steve, I send him a thing and he writes back, sure. And I fucking just sit on it. It's like, no. And the work
do more than Mike does.
Yeah, I think I do.
Mike goes out in the field and tackles stuff all the time. He went into the Entercom offices. He went out to Red Robin. He goes out and does all these live shows. Like, Mike's working. He's earning that paycheck.
What was the reason we didn't go to the Christmas party? Fuck. There was something that happened that week where we just decided not to go. I can't remember what it was. God damn it.
It was last minute.
Yeah, we were on board, and then we decided not to, or Kirk decided not to go, and I can't, for the life of me, remember why. Fuck, whatever it was. But something happened with the show that week, which was the reason we didn't go. I was on my way. I was ready to go, and then the show as a whole said no. So if you're telling me You want me to go to New York by myself, pay my own way, find the Barstool Christmas party, show up alone, say, hey, gang, I know I was not invited here, but here I am, then that's just not going to happen. And if you're saying you don't want me to bitch about shit that I don't want to do on the show, that's not going to happen either. But here's the criticism I do get is that I'm too timid sometimes. That I understand. But I think you're just wrong about this Christmas party nonsense.
That's so insignificant too. Like that literally never even registered in my mind that, oh, look how much they're complaining about this Christmas party. I don't recall.
PK, what are your thoughts on all of this? PK left.
PK's been gone this whole time.
I felt bad for him because Matt and Andy were the real stars of the first half of the show. And PK was kind of along for the ride. I think a guy like that is to real. Here's what really happens on Mike and the Minifans is essentially I have 3 people on and 2 of them usually dominate. Now you might say, Mike, you should probably just have 2 guests on, but we've got a screen for 4 people. So it just makes more sense to have 3 people on. But no, Jackson, I'm enjoying Jackson because I think Jackson is a guy that a lot of Minifans might say we need that voice in this. I would say the people that don't like me probably like Jackson because I think Jackson just seems to take stances where he's like, just fucking disagree with something. I don't care what you disagree with, but just fucking disagree with it. Am I wrong about that?
He scares me a little bit. There's some darkness in those eyes. See, that little smirk was a little serial killer.
All right. Well, I will say I just like pot stirring, and I wouldn't go out there. No, not a contrarian. That's someone who just disagrees to disagree. I much like A&D. A&D nailed it on the head earlier when he just says he watches the world go round, and when there's an opportunity to stick your finger in there and fuck shit up, you say, okay, let's run with this. And I find that fun in the Discord, and a lot of people just take that as, all right, well, if you're gonna say that in here, you should say it to their face. And it's like, okay. Well,
Justin says he has a lengthy message from Jackson on the Discord. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
Is it criticizing me or
Jackson? You come off very Discordian with your takes. I can tell that you hang in there a lot.
All right, I'll let Justin read. I have no idea what this is. I'll let Justin read it.
Blind Mike is a piece of shit application. There's a lot of spelling mistakes, but who am I to judge?
That was you, sheep shit.
Is sheep shit 101. They talk about for 3 episodes for at least 1/4 the show. It comes out, it is 7 hours. I bash it in here, and everyone is sucking dick at the show, saying how pleased they are to have so much content of a show they already heard. People like me get muted for, quote, not having fun, bringing down the, quote, community. Then DEC does one everyone likes. Fine, life goes on. But then the first thing they talk about is how bad the review was. Will anyone who praised and thanked the show acknowledge that the review sucked and that sometimes the show will suck? And back the fuck off, critics? Oh, and that fool Blind Mike counts on his supporters to blindly say how good shit is. Quote, well, if it wasn't for DEC's review, we wouldn't have this combo. That's the first defense. Has 2 weeks to get ready and defend/laugh about it, puts together an answer that would get you thrown out of a boardroom in any walk of life. But please, keep bringing him back. Pay him on the head. The show is life/all is well. Fuckers.
Now, I have to ask, what do you think my role with the best of was?
Well, I think you're on it. And then I also think this is more of a beat. So I'm here pretty much because I fight with people in Discord, not because I would want to go out of my way and bash you. But you seem like you have great thick skin, and
I like it, Jackson. I have genuinely no problem with anything you're saying. Go ahead.
All right. So what happens in Discord, and what I actually think is a general reflection of the show, is that everyone goes along with this one train of thought, and God forbid someone sticks their finger in, like I said earlier, and fuck shit up. They will copy and paste each other into oblivion. I got muted the other day because I thought it was funny. Blind Advocate showed up here drunk the other day, so I
liked it. To be honest, I think me and Matt both liked it. But
yeah,
I mean, he was a fool.
He's a fuck, right? Like he talked like 5 times. It was nonsense. It was awesome. And so I screenshotted it like a few times because I thought it was funny. And people were like, can you please not do that? Yeah, sorry, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. And my natural reaction is just do it. So one of the things was I didn't love the year in review. I didn't love the idea of the year in review. That's my personal opinion. And people fucking rain down on you. And it's just a reflection of how I think a lot of the show goes. And then, of course, the show comes around. And the first thing they open with is, hey, this fucking thing wasn't what we wanted to be.
Yeah,
And
Kirk agreed with you.
Yeah. And then I think your first sentence that I threw in there was, well, if DEC doesn't do his, we're not having this conversation, which is your opinion. But I think if you're part of the project and you put it together.
Well, here's the problem, Jackson. I have nothing to do with editing. I can't. I don't know if you've heard this. I don't see well.
No. And I'm not putting the editing on you. I'm saying the idea that, like, if I go out there and I do a stink bomb at work, right? I can't go in the boardroom and say, like, well, the guy across the street did it so good. How can I, what do you want me to do? That's going to get me crushed. That's such a poor defense of anything. It
was me. I mean, I was kind of defending Steve. I was saying DC did such a good job that people, because I'll tell you why I said that. Because the day it came out, everyone was like, oh, this is great. 7.5 hours. This is so good. I'm 3.5 hours in. This is fucking awesome. I can't stop listening. And then a couple days later, when DEC's came out, everyone's like, Steve's was fucking shit. Steve's was bullshit. Now, with the way it was cut up, and I said this on the show when we came back, Steve told me it was going to be done very differently. And we even talked about, like, there was a segment where it was Steve's first lie. It was the hot dog contest or whatever it was. And I said, so leading into this, you'll play Steve's a liar, right? Like, I think that's kind of how they should go. And then I said the first bad radio segment we should play Patrick's call to the men's room, because that was a bad radio show that didn't get enough. Like, I almost feel like we didn't do enough on the men's room. So Patrick's call to the men's room should have led into bad radio. And Steve said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then he just didn't. So I don't edit the show. So other than that, I'm not sure what you would really want me to do about that. And I said that on air, so I don't know.
There were a lot of people this week, Mike, saying that we were on Mike and the Minifans last week, like sucking your dick over the best of.
That was the one. That was the episode I got most, where people were like, everyone's sucking my dick.
But I remember pretty clearly saying that I fucking didn't even listen to the whole thing. Couldn't get through it.
Here was my input to the best of. I said, here are the segments you should do. Like, I kind of listed some of the best segments, and I think Steve used all the ones I suggested. And I helped Steve with the voiceover shit, because I thought how bad the chemistry between me and him would be funny. If you didn't like that, that's on me. If you didn't like the segments I chose or the banter between me and Steve, that you can criticize me for. But other than that, I don't really know what your issue is with me specifically.
One of the big differences between the two.
Let Jackson give his. Okay. I assume he's got some issue.
Well, it was just what I said, which was that the defense of it was really poor.
I'm saying, how do you respond to what I just said?
Well, I think your part in the show is, my criticism of the whole thing was that it was 7 hours.
Well, that was the idea of it, is that it would be really long, and it could get you, if you had to work the whole week, it could get you through the whole week.
Personally, I didn't like that idea.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Again, it's just me.
It's just him. His personal opinion, didn't like the 7 hours.
Oh, well, no, that's fine. But I'm saying, what's your criticism of me with this best of?
Just defense and the fact that it was 7 hours. Honestly,
it was something that you had nothing to do with, Mike.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah. All right. So your criticism of me is all the parts I had nothing to do with. I understand. Did you? What, so Jackson, you're an argumentative guy, which I like. But what'd you think of the Barstool shit today? Instead of just bitching about me, what'd you think of the Portnoy stuff? Or maybe you disagree with me on that too.
No, I'm a fan. The first time you were on there and you got trashed all over, I was actually on the line, ready to go to war at Dave. I thought he was such a fucking weakling to fucking go after you that first round. Today, I thought you might have dug your own grave just by saying, "Hey, you spiked it because it was feminist," and that's not true. I think Dave has a genuine dislike, and that he would have posted
for me.
Yes, and I don't think. And personally,
well, can I tell you what's funny, Jackson? Is I have less of a problem with that. If he said I don't like Blind Mike's writing, and that's why I spiked it, I almost have zero problem with that, because I don't have a lot of confidence in my writing. I'm not a writer. It is what it is. If he doesn't like my writing, it's his fucking website. He didn't hire me as a writer. He doesn't have to put it on there. My issue is that it was this weird thing where he said, you did a good job. I agreed with everything you said. We cannot post it. That's where my issue was.
Right. So I thought you did as good as you can do. I just thought from listening again, as everything I have is just as a listener, and so as a listener, I heard Kirk the other day kind of slowly trot out that it probably would have gone out under someone else's name. Yeah. So then today, when you said, "Hey, you spiked it because we're passionate feminists," Dave flashed onto that like a fucking pit bull. And he said, "That's not why I spiked it. I spiked it because it was fucking Blind Mike. And who told you that?" Yeah. And, he just went into fucking Dave Portnoy mode. And personally, right hand race, I love Dave Portnoy. Love Kirk. So I saw him go into action. I thought, God damn it. Like, why can't you just go in there and say, like, lesson learned, Portnoy? Like, I'm going to say shit on air. And if you're going to have a problem with it in the moment and you can't accept a genuine apology after the fact, then you are a fucking pussy.
Fired.
That's been, you're saying I should have said that. Yeah, you know what?
No, I'm not even saying that. I just think you can tiptoe around and say, listen, I got your message loud and clear. I'm gonna do what I can to win your love back because you're the fucking boss around here.
Yeah. So can I tell you what happened last time when I went on about the Tommy Smokes thing? That was kind of my plan. Is you know what? I'm gonna be the tough guy now. I got a little confidence. I'm gonna Kirk will protect me. I got some balls now. And then fucking Portnoy shouted me down the entire time. A, it's tough when you're on the phone, but B, Portnoy's very good at what you just said, is that once I say once I say sexist, he'll say, I never said sexist. And then for 20 minutes, he'll go, I never said sexist. I never said sexist. And you'll never get past that point. And that's what Portnoy is very good at and kind of just derails an argument. And it's like, okay, we're not going to talk sense here. It's just going to be that technically, semantically, you're right.
Yeah. And the first go around, I remember listening to the first go around and thinking, God damn it, I'm going to call in. I'm going to fucking MHB this thing up because I had you back on that one.
Yeah.
And then just today, as soon as I heard that thing, I thought, oh God, we're off to the races. There's no reeling it in. But he's not going to fire him also. So
it's tough. I didn't really know what to do. I genuinely, leading up to that, I thought he would fire me. I thought he was going to fire. I thought he was ready to fire me. And then I heard him doing the preamble when I was on hold and kind of explaining shit. And I was like, you know what? He seems pretty calm. And then when I heard, you know what? I got to give credit to Frankie Borelli because I can't believe it. I thought they would play the clip, not out of context, but chop it up so that it was just me saying, you're a pussy.
Played the whole clip.
Grow some balls. Frankie cut up the entire clip and included the part where I said, how often do I lick Barstool's asshole? I'm constantly saying all this nice shit about them. Frankie left that in, which I really appreciate because I think when Portnoy heard that, he was like, he literally said, he goes, you know what? I hadn't heard that whole thing before. I only heard the first part.
That's good. That's a solid. And did you hear when they were leading into the sound, didn't one of them say something or leading into you guys coming on the show, they said something like, so you're telling me if he stands up for himself, like you're still going to fire him?
Riggs had you know what? Riggs, we didn't get into this, but I think Kirk's biggest problem was fucking Riggs. But he was my lowest pro. I like Riggs because Riggs was like, I liked Blind Mike in that. He had a little fire. You know what I mean? So I think Riggs is a guy that's obviously never heard me before. I don't know how often he listens to the Kirk show, but he didn't seem like he's heard a lot of me. So he's like, you know what? In that clip, like Blind Mike's usually boring. I liked him in that clip.
You know what? He makes sense there, but then he fucking has no sense of humor 5 minutes later.
Well, that's a Team Portnoy thing, where Kirk obviously jokingly says, "Oh, Riggs texts me all the time. Says you're a pussy." And Riggs thinks, "Oh God, Dave's gonna think I'm serious." And
but
immediately,
he can't just like laugh
I've never
and be
texted
like,
you in my life, Kirk.
If he just laughs and says, "Yeah, Dave, you're a fucking pussy," everybody knows it's sarcastic.
Right.
Like,
of course.
What are we doing?
He's literally a Team Portnoy guy. I don't know why you can't play along with that. It's weird.
That was odd.
Or I might, you know what I might do? Let's say Big Cat's on the phone saying, Mike texts me all the time saying you're a pussy. I might go, oh no, I would never do. Where I'm obviously overcompensating. You know what I mean? Like I would play along with it in some way. Where Riggs was just like, what do you mean? I don't text you. What are you talking about?
And like
Riggs fucking bombed today.
It was weird.
Kirk
I like
Riggs on a platter.
I think Prez really thought he was going to get names out of Kirk too when he was like, "Who's calling me a fucking pussy?"
Yeah.
I think he thought he was completely serious up until that point.
You want to know something? I mean, I don't know this. Me and Kirk, and this may surprise a lot of people. Me and Kirk don't socialize a lot, so I don't get a lot of gossip from him. But when Kirk said that, I had a feeling there was some truth to it. I don't know that.
Oh yeah.
But Kirk talks to some people. I don't know. Maybe some people that have been on the show. I have no idea. But some people may have said that to him.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, nobody can deny that El Prez has changed over the last couple of years. I mean,
one person
out of necessity.
El Prez.
Well, yeah, but you know.
But yeah, that's the thing. When I say Portnoy's changed, I understand. It is Portnoy is a boss now. He never had a boss. I understand that. If you want to sell the company, you're going to have to change from being these guys that say, I don't answer to anyone. I don't apologize to anyone. Go fuck yourself if you have a problem with it. You have to change. And I think they knew that when the company was sold. So it's weird that he can't just say like, yeah, I changed out of necessity a little bit. But Jackson, you ask questions. What do you think of the move to Barstool, the relationship with Barstool? Were you a fan of Kirk before with EI?
Yeah. So,
well, what's your take on the Barstool situation?
Love it. And honestly, Matt was speaking earlier about listening to, Kirk and Callahan with his dad. I had a few uncles who there wasn't a holiday that didn't go by that we didn't shy away from the crew and just say, what's going on with the show? Fucking cod is fat and all that other good stuff. And so I joke about, I remember where I was when Nick from Canton called in about the Borges story. I was at the dog park. I had to tell all these random people, like, just get away.
One of the best days.
I'm fucking listening to something right now. I had my headphones in, and I was always like, the fucking mayor down at the dog park. I was like, leave me alone, get your dogs away from me. There's something going on. And so yeah, I was a huge Kirk fan. I am a huge Kirk fan. Enough about me. The whole thing. I love Jerry. You name it. And when he moved to Barstool, I thought, God bless God. There's going to be a place where Kirk can go, and do his.
Did you like Barstool beforehand as well?
It was huge, yeah. So that's the other thing. Is I still have in my, my rotation of like, hey, what am I checking in on today? Barstool's one of them.
Are you guys like me where when on Kirk and Callahan, the couple times that they had Portnoy in, could you not like feel it in the air that was destined to happen?
Yeah.
I always had to, I'm sure just like a lot of people, but it always just felt right. The two of them bullshitting.
Well, I'll tell you when I really thought it was going to happen, I didn't know. So logically, I still had a podcast DEI, like a year, like last October, 2018, when Kirk was off air and cryptically tweeting, like Barstool Radio would tweet out new lineup shakeup on November 1st or whatever the fuck it was. And Kirk would retweet it. And logically in my mind, I was like, he's under contract. They haven't fired him yet. It's not possible that he'd be going to Barstool Sports, but how fucking perfect would that be? That was always my hope, was that he would go to Barstool.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it seemed like it worked out. And now clearly isn't everything it was.
The backlash. So you haven't changed at all, Jackson? You still look at what the show deals with now and everything, and you still say it's a kind of a perfect marriage, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I still think you have a massive platform, and as a Barstool fan, simultaneously with being a Kirk fan, I thought it was the perfect fit. I think very rarely do they step in and stop you guys from doing what you want to do. And I also think whether or not
on the show, I'll say this for Barstool. On the podcast, never once.
Right.
Blogging constantly, but on the podcast, never once.
Yeah, I mean, and whether or not they promote you, whether or not they put you on the main page, just the fact that you're given all the tools and weapons to build what you want to build without having to go and subscribe, doing some subscriber podcasts. It's huge. It's great. And just the fact that you guys get to fly the Barstool flag just means that like you guys are cool. You guys are you're in the mainstream, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It's just another fuck you to everyone else. It's fuck you to WEI. You know, every single person at WEI would kill to be a Barstool.
Of course.
Well,
Kirk, I mean, the best thing that Kirk brought up when talking about radio, in my mind, because it was the perfect. This is an example of why Kirk is so much better than me, because there's things where he says, and I'm like, I've always thought that, and I wish I could put it in that sort of words. But when he said, like, he was talking about how, hey, wouldn't that be great if Kevin Clancy replaced Francesa? And the way Kirk put it was, he would mention that to Barstool people. Hey, why doesn't Clancy replace Francesa? And they would say, oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it? And that would be the last they would ever mention it. So that's the radio mentality that Barstool doesn't have, is they'll try shit. Radio is not like that. But let me ask you this, Jackson. Do you think you bring up like a subscriber base? Well, I mean, and I think it would be more beneficial to do a smaller, fewer things behind a paywall. So if you're doing 5 days a week, 3 days a week for free, 2 behind a paywall, certain YouTube videos behind a paywall, shit like Mike and the Minifans behind a paywall, stuff like that. But do you think it would be beneficial for the show to leave Barstool so they can do anything they want? Or do you think Kirk loses something when that was a big criticism of Howard Stern, is that if he's not fighting against the FCC, so he loses something. Do you think Kirk loses anything? He's not fighting against the man if he doesn't have a ball?
No. I think he definitely has that same vein as the same way, Howard.
Because he'll still go after whoever.
Yeah, totally. He'll go after you. He'll go after fucking Steve. Yeah. It's just it's inevitable, and you don't always have to be fighting against the man. And there's another way to fight against the man. There's people on who have Patreon. They get kicked off Patreon. You know what I mean? There's always going to be that overlord. Louis J. Gomez just got fucking banned from, I think, YouTube or something. It was just.
You know what, Jackson? You and I might become great friends because I wanted to talk about this. I didn't know if I would have anyone to talk about it, but Matt, I don't know if you heard about this.
What was it?
Legion of Skanks. Legion of Skanks. No, nothing to do with that. Legion of Skanks is a podcast I listen to, promote a lot. I wear their hat all the fucking time.
It's Okerson, right?
Yeah, Big J. Okerson, Louis J. Gomez, and Dave Smith. And they are, to be honest, I wouldn't promote them to people I don't know can handle it. Because it is, I mean, they brand themselves as the most offensive podcast on earth. It's shit that, taken out of context, looks fucking terrible. If you don't know the personalities of those guys, it looks fucking awful. But they're comedians. They're fucking kidding around. There's context to it. All of that bullshit. So they were taken off of YouTube for 14 days for hate speech. I don't know if there was a real reason given. I haven't listened to their latest show. But here's the problem: is this type of shit happened when they had Milo Yiannopoulos on. It's happened all kinds of times. And there's going to be a point, as Louis J. Gomez pointed out on Twitter, there's going to come a day where, and this is what troubles me most about Barstool, is Barstool was a pirate ship that didn't give a shit about people criticizing them. So Louis J. Gomez tweets out, hey, you need to support gasdigitalnetwork.com because YouTube has already kicked us off multiple times. iTunes is going to kick us off soon, I'm sure, because eventually there's going to be an algorithm with iTunes that says, if you say these words in this order, you're fucking gone. So that's coming soon, and I wonder how that'll affect a show. See, Kirk's smart. Here's the thing: is Kirk's smart that I don't know an algorithm like that would ever get him. Like Kirk says things in a way that's very smart. But what do you guys think about that type of like YouTube doing that type of shit?
I think it's way over the line. I mean, you want to talk about the First Amendment?
So you think that's why Barstool should be fighting against that? Is because YouTube and iTunes are doing that type of shit?
But you think Peter Chernin gives a fuck about that? Like,
no, he doesn't.
He sees the dollar bills.
Well, I don't know that he does. Honestly, I have no idea if he does or not.
I mean, he has to a little bit to get involved with them. He knew who they were. But in the end, I think as long as he's cashing the checks, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
No, I think it's the same. Kirk is up against the same thing he's always been up against. He hasn't said anything you could take out of context. He just says things that just get under the wrong people's skin, and they fight like hell to frame it in a way. And Louis J. Gomez and his podcast, they do plenty of things, say 15 times in a podcast that can offend someone. I don't personally have a problem with it because it's free speech. but there's going to be people who just hone in on Kirk Minahan because he is so engaging. He is so he moves the needle. And the fact that he moves the needle, that means he has to be eliminated. He is too talented to have free reign and to hone in, racist or not, on the Boston Globe, because the Boston Globe is too protected.
Here's the perfect example, Jack. Do you listen to Legion of Skanks, Jackson?
From time to time, absolutely.
Just from time to so depending on how frequently, you may not be able to answer this, but just think of the most offensive thing you've heard on Legion of Skanks.
Sure.
Compare that to calling Aaron Andrews a gutless bitch. What's more offensive?
Stop being so boring.
So there were hundreds of articles written about fucking Aaron Andrews.
Yeah.
The one thing that sticks to Kirk Minahan. Legion of Skanks advertises themselves as the most offensive podcast. It's guys that are lesser known, and they can get away with shit. It's amazing. But now, I guess technology is catching up to those guys where it's like, hey, even if you don't have as big of an audience, we're going to fucking get you, which is terrifying.
I mean, Shirley Leung's last article, like if you go back, yesterday, she published an article on this guy who owns a TV station in Boston. He seems like a good guy, whatever. I like to scratch the surface on things. But I guarantee if I went through the 24/7, news cycle that this guy owns, there's going to be something that she could hone in on, take out of context, and put in an article if she wanted. Yeah. And it's just, he generates this magnet attention from people in the media because they know he's more influential than they are through, traditional channels. They would love to box him out. They would love to put him behind a paywall. But as long as there's good people,
Kirk has made the right enemies in the sense that it's liberal. It's a diverse group of people that hate him. You know what I mean? So it's people that can say, "Oh, this is just a white man who's a sexist, racist pig," and he's worked for the right places. Like EI has had criticisms before. Barstool, there's a fucking laundry list of them. So it's easy for people to go after Kirk. Whereas if they go after someone like Trenny for the fucking symbol, it's a little more difficult. But,
I'm gonna throw Kirk a quick bone. I think the Howie Cars, I think the Turtle Boys, those Republicans, I also think they don't want to really trifle. I think they're ready for war, whatever. But I also think Kirk has them on their toes just as much as anyone else.
Well, have you ever? I mean, let me ask you this, Jackson. I don't know how often you listen to the Howie Cars show. Has there ever been a guest on there that's criticized Donald Trump? I mean, other than, I don't know, maybe Tucker Carlson might be willing to do this, but other than that, like even Republicans get a lot of credit for challenging people, but even them, it's like try and get a guest on there that fucking challenge. Kirk is the only guy. I mean, Rogan. You know what? Rogan will have people on that challenge him, but Rogan's not a confrontational guy. Rogan will have people on that disagree with him and kind of sit back and listen. Kirk's the only guy I can think of that's a controversial guy, and that's why I think Barstool's fucking stupid for not promoting this show because he's the most unique talent in America. I really believe that.
Do you think that the Minifans ever get the show into a little trouble by drawing additional attention to some minor stuff?
Yes.
Big time, right?
I love the Minifans, and I love what they do, and don't stop doing it. But if you want to know the reason that the Kirk Minahan show isn't hugely popular, it's because the Minifans piss people off. And when people are wrong, the Minifans will say, "Hey, you assholes are fucking wrong." And people don't like that. You know what I mean? So it's not even really criticism. It's just a fact of life that, the Minifans are people that will, maybe they're not as smart as Kirk, but they're smarter than these idiots.
But it goes the other way, too.
They're smart. The Minifans are people that are smarter than Amanda Dobbins. So when they call her out, Amanda Dobbins doesn't even want to argue with them.
Yeah, and it does go the other way, too, because like when Ernest Owens came on the show, he was getting his balls washed on Twitter. Like, we respect you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. That was great. You did a good job. So, I mean, people can look at it and say, "Oh,
Ernest Owens." I'll tell you something. It's funny you bring up that name. Ernest Owens is my favorite guest ever because he's a guy who disagreed with us. He's a guy who is he's black. I believe he's gay. I shouldn't say that if I don't know 100%, but I think he is. But he's a guy that people say we hate for some reason. We had him on. He was fucking tremendous. He was great. He argued with us. And I think he's wrong. I think he's out of his mind. But he brought his point. He thinks I'm out of my mind. So who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, who gives a? We're both two people that think each other are crazy, that are yelling at each other for nothing.
And the Minifans showed him nothing but respect after he came on, because when you're willing to do that and come voice your opinion,
Ernest Owens doesn't get enough credit because he was great. I thought he was very good. I want to get to question. Justin says we have some good questions in the chat, so save those. But before we do that, Jackson, I want to know. You worked with Kirk and MHB in the Marty Walsh investigation. Am I correct about that?
Correct.
Why? What the fuck happened with that? Why have I never heard anything about it?
To be honest, Barstool. So Kirk hired Barstool. That was one of the last things.
Okay, that makes sense. So was it ready? Was it? Was there enough to expose this guy as an asshole, and then it just never happened?
I personally thought it was story worthy, and I think it was about a week before Kirk was rolling around on the CBS. I texted him something about Marty, and he wrote back, typical cool Kirk. He just writes back, I don't think my new bosses are going to love this story, Viva. And I just bit my time. I was like, fucking A, he's going to Barstool. And he didn't announce it for like a week later. Yeah. But I understood that was the end of the road. And that's that. And I would say, would it expose Marty as being an asshole? Again, like you go back in the Herald 2 days, the number one article they have is about Marty being non-transparent. And, I follow this type of thing. I work in the city. I don't necessarily think Marty's any other different than any other politician, but there are stories that people don't want to touch. And in fact, not only do they not want to touch, there were people writing stories to, sugarcoat the story we were looking at. So we were looking at a story, and if you go back and you were to dissect some of the articles that were written, it was sort of, well, here are the facts, and here's what was reported. And this is the best thing you can look at in regards to that story. It would be casting him in the best light at every turn. Okay. Every single turn in those articles were, hey, there might be something shady, but he's a
good guy. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? He's a good guy. We're giving you the dirt story, but the dirt story was 1/10, of what was actually happening. And if you went to the public records and you went through what was available to these dummy journalists, and Kirk called the journalist, and the journalist was, I think he referred to him as like mealy mouth, didn't have good answers, knew exactly what Kirk was doing, never called him back again. And
there's not to bring up ghostwriters again, but there would almost be incentive for Kirk to. I genuinely don't know how much money he has. He's been very generous to me, but
Christmas bonus
a little bit. But he said so. If Kirk found the proper writer and just said, "Hey, you're established enough. I've done all the work for you. Fucking print this. Here's X amount of dollars." I'm not in that business. I have no idea how shady that is or how unethical that is. But I would almost like Kirk to do something under someone else's name just to say, like, it would suck that Kirk wouldn't get the credit, but just to say, hey, if this person did it, it would be exposed if Kirk Minahan does it. Because I genuinely believe Kirk is the best reporter easily in Boston.
See, Mike, and that's why I thought that you wrote the Lowell Sun article. I thought that was your spiked Barstool article, but I was clearly wrong. But
that would have been great. No,
ultimate plot twist.
Maybe I shouldn't give his name. Has it already been given? Do people know who it is?
Shattuck?
Yeah,
it was alluded to.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
No, he did an awesome job. But maybe someone like that. I don't know if maybe someone that level would get spiked no matter what. But someone like that who likes Kirk and is willing to do it, if Kirk just pays him and says, "Hey, we got you," or "Hey, you know what?
Are you talking about
my job? If they're willing to do that, give him my fucking job. Whatever it is, whatever the compensation is." I'm curious to see if Kirk's reporting would be, because I believe it would be would be gigantic news if not reported by Kirk Minahan, which is fascinating.
That's a good.
Oh, it would.
I like that idea.
I would have to assume it would.
All right. So, Justin, before we get out of here, what are the questions people got for me or us?
Matt, any thoughts of pressing for a new election?
Oh, Matt, any thoughts about pressing for a re-election?
I mean, it seems to have kind of died down, so I'm not going to push it.
Who is the president now?
We're waiting on
to.
word from Kirk. He said. So
it's not Patrick.
Patrick is the president elect. He's the acting president. I think where it was left last was Kirk said he needed to make it official and formalize it, but that hasn't happened yet. So Patrick still introduces himself as president elect. And
do you think if you're official co-host of Mike and the Minifans, do you think that helps or hurts your chances?
I don't think it helps or hurts.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I don't think it's going to sway any opinions there.
Justin, anything else?
When you say it died down, are you still making those jokes?
Oh, that's a good one.
Here's the thing: is Matt got fucking railroad? I don't understand that.
Totally.
And you know what? I direct messaged Mike today, and I said I feel like a shitty person. I was like, I have a joke right now that I really want to make, but I know I can't.
If you want to make it and think it's funny, fucking make it.
I mean, you know what? But it was the same topic, and it was directly at Scott. And
well, then no, never mind.
Exactly, yeah.
Jesus Christ, Matt, I didn't know that.
You know what? Just let it rip. Just let it rip.
No, well, it was just in regard to him hiring you, Mike.
Yeah.
So I won't go there, but
I'll
leave that for another day.
Scott's a good man as well. What else?
I just don't know if you'd want a blind guy cleaning the floors. That's all.
It might not. See, you know what, Matt? I would have laughed at it.
See, and it's like there's no malintent. Like my favorite comedian is Anthony Jeselnik. Like you heard my prank calls. Like death doesn't bother me when it's so. Maybe it's because I've never lost anybody close to me. I don't know, but that just doesn't.
Matt, let me let you off the hook.
That's my sense of humor.
Matt, let me let you off the hook. If you're at your own wake and we're making these jokes, you're just happy that we're laughing.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, same.
There's no malintent. Like It's a joke.
What else we got, Justin?
Someone said, I don't know what this is referring to, but what caused Kirk to threaten to beat you up? Is that something that happened recently?
What caused? I don't remember. I don't remember that.
Yeah, neither do I. Someone said, will Mike let me pay for his plane ticket to the Super Bowl?
That was
absolutely. You want to pay for my plane ticket to the Super Bowl? I'll absolutely.
That was the groupie, Mike.
The groupie is a fucking guy. Like, that's all. Come on. Every time I've invited her on here, she's backed out. It's a man. It's a gentleman that is apparently might be a fan of mine or might hate me. I have no idea. But I don't believe Blind Mike's groupie exists in the form that she claims to.
We'll find out in Madawaska.
We sure will, buddy.
Where is Alba on this Friday night?
Where's Alba on this Friday? People will make allusions to this. She's out dancing.
Ooh.
With
Mrs.
a male friend.
Is he of the other persuasion?
It's female friends and a male friend that she thinks might be a little, whatever. But nonetheless, there is a man involved. So Alba's out doing God knows what. Unspeakable things, I'm sure.
I just have my lady waiting for me
it's
upstairs.
An open relationship.
Is it?
No.
Not on Mike's end.
Yeah,
Patriots prediction. Oh, that's pretty weak. Yeah. I'm gonna go Patriots 38. Titans 28.
Oof. Derrick Henry is gonna go off for 180 yards. Patriots are gonna lose 24-17.
Really? All right.
They're done.
All right. I feel, that can't be it, right, Justin? Or is it?
The male friend Steve.
Is the male friends? Yes, Alba and Steve are out right now, dancing, cutting up a rug.
Makes sense.
Anything else, Justin, or no? No. Justin billed it as like, oh, we've got these great questions. I don't remember any of those being great. But boys, thank you very much. Matt from Providence. I say this every week. I feel like Matt is essentially just my co-host, which I'm liking more and more. Matt, we'll talk after the show.
All right.
But Jackson, thank you for coming on, honestly, because you're the only person that's ever disagree with me on this show.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
I like it. And honestly, Jackson, anytime your internet connection is kind of shit, but if you can work on that and get a little better, you're welcome anytime. Now, here's the thing, Jackson. I have no way to contact you. So any week you have an issue with me or want to come on, just email Justin.
Sounds good.
All right, gang. This has been it. I hope it's been an enjoyable Mike and the Minifans. I love you all. And oh fuck, the interns! God damn it, the interns got away scot-free. Next week, allegedly, there's going to be a second episode of the interns, and I hope we get to that because that was my Justin says bigger and better than ever. That was my favorite half hour of television of all time. I hope there's another episode next week. We'll get to it on Mike and the Minifans. Goodbye, everybody, and stay safe out there, huh?
Another tough day at work today. Stephen Kirk, think I suck. Throw back a few wobbly pops, feeling down on my luck. And the interns ruin every show. But it's still where we want to go. It's Mike and the Minifans. 'Cause nobody had any better plans. You wanna be with DC and our aim in a hand. The host can't see it's Mike and the Minifans. And nobody's seen real MHB. This whole thing is a sham. You never see him pee, it's Mike and the Minifans.